It is the second week in December, the week that our spiritual community is dedicating our time, effort, and energy to focusing on the true nature and true essence of our being, character and integrity. So we're all looking at that for this coming month. In other words, we are all invited to be in our own company, thoughtfully, reflectingly, and with an open receptivity to seeing where we are right now with regard to character and integrity. And so if you go to the dictionary, you'll get all kinds of definitions, as I was sharing this morning, with regard to character. And it usually describes a list of all kinds of virtuous aspects of our being, like goodness and kindness and all of that. But it's more than that. Character is more than that. If you go deeper and you look further into the meaning of the word character, from the Greek, you will find that it is defined as engraved mark. Engraved mark. An imprint on the soul. An imprint on the soul. So what we're talking about when we're talking about character is our true essence. It's the image and the likeness of ourselves as we are knowing ourselves to be the result of the decision or interaction or whatever it was that the creator of it all decided when you and I came into being. Decided to be its own self, its own image, its own likeness, its own nature, its own character by means of you and by means of me. Now that's a big whoop-de-doo. That's a big, big whoop-de-doo. So that's not usually how you and I think about ourselves. We're not going around thinking usually, mostly, all of the time, for a few maybe, that we are the character of spirit itself. We are its essence, we are its nature. We are its presence on this plane in material form. So we're asking ourselves this month to look at ourselves and see how we would define our own character honestly at the moment, and how we see ourselves mindfully at the moment. And as I was saying this morning, a good humble way to get in touch with ourselves is to ask a very dear and good friend what they think, how they would describe us as a character, and then be willing to be open to the answer. And so they won't be able to tell you who you are. Nobody can except yourself, but they will describe what they think you are as far as their experience of you is concerned. And there may be some kernel of truth in it somewhere that we can learn from and work with, because that's their impression of us. But the one to talk to about this is yourself. And the talking that we do is the listening that we do when we show up and say, I'm ready to be still, I'm ready to know, I'm ready to be quiet, I'm ready to listen. Speak to me, speak to me, speak to me, soul, for I am listening. And then you will get a sense of where you are with regard to what you understand yourself as a character, as character is. And so that's the invitation for the month of the December. Self-contemplation, self-pondering, self-reflection, self-examination. And as a result of that, to come to some conclusion about ourselves with regard to, are we good? Do we want to expand on that? Are we disappointed with what we discover? What are we going to do about it, etc., etc., etc.? Now, you and I have been formed in character from the time we appeared on this plane. Our parents, our teachers, and everybody else around us were always endeavoring to form our characters and turn us into good little people. And a lovely story of that I shared this morning was a mother who was had her preschooler with her as she was driving to pick up her son, but on the way, who was a sixth grader, I think, on the way they stopped in at the grocery store to get some groceries and so on. So as they continue the journey, the mother says, what's that lovely sweet smell I'm smelling from the back seat? I mean, it smells like apple. What is that? The little one says, that's my chewing gum. And her mother says, chewing gum? Where'd you get the chewing gum? I got it at the shop. Who gave it to you at the shop? Nobody gave it to me at the shop. I took it. The mother goes, oh, all right, already. Pulls over, has a talk with the child, says, sweetheart, you know, when we go into the store, we have to buy what we get in the store. You see Mommy at the register, and you see her checking out all the things and then paying money for the things that we're bringing home. You can't just go into the store and take things. That's a mistake that you have made, and now we have to make the mistake right. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go back to the store, and we're going to explain to the lady that you made a mistake and you took the chewing gum and you hadn't paid for it, but you're going to pay for it now. Mommy's going to pay for it now, and when you go home, it'll come out of your piggy bank. And don't be worried about it. Don't be afraid. It's okay. We're just going to make something right. That's all, and I'll be with you. It'll be fine. It'll all work out. And so that's exactly what happened. No big, finger shaking or you bad girl or whatever else, just the explanation of how life works. And so character there is being framed, is being encouraged. I won't say formed. We don't form character. It's already completely formed within us. You see, character is this wonderful, powerful energy within us that you and I get to reveal. We get to reveal it by being in the mindful awareness of who and what we are. And so there's no adding to it, and there's no forming it at all. There's the revealing of it. There's the opening the portal and letting it shine through. Your job, my job, is to allow our characters to shine through us. And as a result of that, add to the good energy and life on planet Earth. Emma Curtis Hopkins, I love Emma Curtis Hopkins, so does Reverend Mary and everybody else too that knows Emma Curtis Hopkins. She talks about the need for us all to keep looking at, examining the desert spots in our lives. And the desert spots, she says, need continuous watering and nurturing. And that is part of our job, to take care of the desert spots. And what does she mention as the two main desert spots? She only talks about complaining and whining. These are the desert spots for her. And she says they need to be replaced with gratitude and thanksgiving and praise. That's how we take care of our desert spots. So, of course, as we are in conversation with ourselves this month, we will come across some desert spots that we need to take care of all kinds, shapes, makes, and forms. But like the little one and the mother, it's not something to be disappointed about or to be afraid about or to be, irritated by. It's just something that you and I, it's kind of like housework. You get to do it. You don't necessarily love it, although one or two of you might just love housework. That's possible too. But mostly people do it because it has to be done. And we do it. But again, it's how we're doing it. I love TED Talks, and they have 3-minute TED Talks, they have 7-minute TED Talks, and they have 25-minute TED Talks. The 3-minute and the 7-minute are great. So David Brooks talks about, for all of us, the challenge is to understand that we are not just human, but we're divine too. And so when we're going about the business of our bucket list and so on, and most people seem to have a bucket list, I don't, I have a glee list, but most people seem to have a bucket list. And as you're going about the bucket list, remember, you also have a moral bucket list too to take care of. So you don't just take care of your humanity, you take care of your divinity too. So the moral bucket list would be everything that would be freeing and releasing that character of yours and mine and letting it shine through. And that's a good way of seeing it. He also talks about, as we move through life, we shouldn't be just focused only on adding to our resume. He said we should be equally focused on adding to our eulogy. So it's not about all the stuff and things I can show you that I have accomplished and achieved in my resume to show you how great I am and how glorious I am and how capable I am and how qualified I am, etc. He said, through our showing forth of the characters that we are, the character that is the power of us, we will be accruing our eulogy list, and other people then will be telling other people how we were and who we were and how our lives have made a difference. And we don't think of things like that. Not really. Not really. So resume list and eulogy. I don't go about thinking about my eulogy list. I hadn't really thought about it like that until I listened to him on TED Talk. But there you are. What is all of this saying? We have a dual nature. We are human and we are divine. Now, character is not just going to spill forth without some kind of interaction with it, assisting it, supporting it, doing what it takes for it to happen, for you and for me to be qualified as wonderful characters, So engaged in that, there's a whole list. The first thing, I must be passionate. I must have passion. I must have action under the passion. I must have push. I must have the open receptivity to good ideas. I must be focused, and I must be delighted to be open, to be in service. These are things that cause you and me to get things done and to move forward in the forward direction our lives are supposed to be moving in. As I was sharing this morning, I woke up going through my mind as clear as could be, as the end of a dream I was having, was, if you don't move, how do you think you're going to get to where you want to be? If you don't move, how do you think you're going to get to where you want to be? There's got to be movement. Movement means change. There has to be action under the decision to change. Action, action, action. Again, I shared this morning. In TED Talks, I got this. Did you know that sitting is the new smoking? It is just as detrimental to your health. Really. It sounds funny, but it's not. Sitting is killing us. Sitting is killing us. Non-movement is killing us. And so action, 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 action. Action is what is called for. You and I are born to move. You and I are born to be in constant state of movement and flux. And we are not born to sit and sit and sit and sit. We're not. And we're becoming more of a sitting society in our culture. We truly are. So, character counts, as we have been told for a long time. And character is what is that essence which defines you and defines me as what we are in truth. So, our job is before us. Do we want to embrace this challenge or don't we want to embrace this challenge? You know, I love the story that Tolstoy wrote for children. And it's a beautiful story. It's about this little boy who wants to be the best of himself. And he's besotted with 3 questions. And he's on a quest to find the answers to these 3 questions. And he's always on the lookout. So one day he thinks, I'll go to the wise old Leo. He's somebody everybody went to. And Leo just happened to be a turtle, of course. So he goes to the wise old turtle to ask him the questions. And on his way, he's pondering his question. The first question is, okay, what is the right time for anything? Second question is, who is the most important one? And the third question is, how and what is the right time to be good, to do good? These are his questions. So he gets to Leo's place, and when he gets to Leo is working away in the garden, he's digging, he's working hard. So he thinks, I'm going to help Leo in the garden. So he helps Leo, and when all the work is done, just as it's finished, the sky is getting darker and darker and darker, and there's a big storm, brewing, and it begins to rain heavily. And so they make a rush for Leo's cottage. But on the way, Nikolai is the name of the boy. He hears the sound of a cry for help. And he goes and he investigates and he finds a panda in dire need. So he helps the panda over to the cottage and realizes that the panda has a baby back in the bushes too that needs to be rescued. So he goes back, gets the baby panda and brings it in and rescues the baby panda too. And so when the storm is all over, the panda mother thanks him profusely. Off she goes with her baby and all is well. And he has asked the questions of Leo, and Leo says, Dear boy, your questions have already been answered. You've already answered your own questions. He said, what is the right time? The right time and the best time is always now. And you were present now to what was going on. Who is the best? Who is the most significant and most important one? The most significant and the most important one is the person in whose company you are at any given time. And what is the best good to do? What is the best good to do? And the best good to do is always the good that you're going to do for the person standing by your side. So you see, dear boy, you have answered your own questions. You are already the answer to your questions. So remember this, dear boy, that these three things are the most important thing in all of the world. To be here in service now, to know that the most important person is the one you're in the company of, or those in the company of, and the best good is the good you do to the person before you or with you. These are the important things. Now, these are the things that release character. They release character. I had a talk with Reverend Carol this morning, who's in the thick in the midst of the Ojai fires. Scary times for them up there this week, and still the air quality is desperate up there. But she was talking about the good that came out of it in the courageousness of people around and in the goodness of people around. And we talked about the man on the television who saved the rabbit from the flames. If you've seen that, it was incredible. Here was this man right up against those flames, and he was really upset because this rabbit was running into the danger instead of the way for danger. No God, no God. And he goes in after the rabbit, and he gets the rabbit. The rabbit comes to him, he gets the rabbit, and he saves the rabbit. You see, this is character in action. No thought for yourself. A little rabbit rescued in that courageous way. That's character. These are the things that count. And sometimes you don't know your strength until you're tested in that way. That's the good that comes out of challenges. You have no idea of your strength until you are challenged in that way. And that reminded me of the time when the IRA bomb went off in the Tower of London, and I was in it. I was in the tower when that particular tower, when the bomb went off. And people were scared and frightened, afraid as the smoke and glass flew and smoke filled the place. And my thought straight went to the teacher I saw with the first graders. I thought, I hope they're okay. So all I'm doing, it's like you're in a bubble of silence and you're just looking for that particular thing. And I found them, and the children were perfectly okay. The teacher was shaking and crying and grabbing them all together. And the kids, they're there going, "Oh, blimey, mister, are we going to be on the telly tonight? Are we going to be on the telly tonight?" You see, and so if you had told me that I wouldn't have been the first one to jump under a bench or a desk or something, I would say to you, I don't know what I would do. Who knows? I might be the first one to make it out the door. But now I know, no, that's not the way it works. That something else happens, something else overcomes you, like the man with the rabbit, something else happened in him, something overcame him, and he was focused on saving the rabbit. He wasn't aware of anything else around him, just saving the rabbit. That's what real focus is. That's what character is. Mindfulness, paying attention, being present enough to make a difference in someone's life. Being aware, being able to see what's going on, feel what's going on, and have the appropriate response. And when I'm aware and I'm alert and I'm seeing what's going on, feeling what's going on, aware of what's going on, something else happens, takes over, and you're able to be a very real and present help in the midst of that. How do you think God is a very real and present help? Only through you. No other way. Through you. The skies don't open, and God doesn't descend down and say, "Don't worry, kids, I'll take care of this." It's you. You have to be the very real and present help. You're the godliness that must appear, must show up, and must respond. That's character. That's you being your true image and likeness of the one. You look at character in the story of the prodigal, don't you? You have 3 demonstrations of character there. You have the bum of a son who just is totally selfish, wants his inheritance, wants it now, thinks nothing of anything or anyone, only himself, and off he goes, and he does that. You have the father who is just total open receptivity to the love that he has for both of his sons, and is unconditional in the way he loves both of his sons, saddened by the loss of his young son. And when the son returns back, runs to him and kisses him, celebrates him, and creates a wonderful party in his honor. You have the eldest son who is not in any way happy this kid returned home, is in no way rejoicing or is he going to go to that party, is full of resentment about it all, and wishes that his father would get a clue, you see. Now, all of those are aspects of character either being demonstrated or kept closed and hidden, not released. That portal doesn't open when we hold and reserve that which is the glory of life living itself in you and in me. Now, we are all of those 3 characters at times. You know, you say, pick a character, who do you think you would be? And mostly when we were kids, we'd pick one. But really, we're all of those characteristics. We are all of those 3 characters in the story of the prodigal. So what we're called for during December is to be open and receptive to being like the young boy, Nikolai, who wanted to be the best of himself, to finding a way to be able to do and be that. And again, it's not enough to do good. Doing good is not enough. In fact, doing good mightn't get you any brownie points at all. You have to be good while you're doing good. You have to be the goodness of life showing up as this good. There's no use doing good and then moaning and groaning and belly aching about it and complaining about others who don't do as much good as you do, and so on and so forth, etc. And for God's sake, what's the matter with them all the time? Look at how selfish they are, and look at me, and I do this and I do that and I do the other and I show up. You see, so doing good is not what it's about. It's being the goodness that we are and allowing that to shine through. Call it what you will. It's just the glory of God, the presence of God, the nature of God, the character of God that each and you are filled with, and you and I have the key to opening the portal to let all of that loose, to let all of that be released, to let all of that be what this world needs right now in order to help it mend and fix and unify itself. And we're the ones. There's no one else. I keep saying that, and I will keep saying it. I have to say it to myself. There's no one else, Moira. It's up to you. And then I go, oh, God, help people. God, help the world. But anyway, then I say not of myself, but of the power and the presence of Spirit within me, who will go forth and do the work through me. That's the only way this is going to happen. So the question is, are you going to have the conversation with yourself? What is that going to elicit within you? Remember, I strongly recommend that we have that dialogue with ourselves and journal it. Because when you're journaling, I can tell you amazing things happen. You'd be surprised at what drops in there on that page or on the computer if you must use a computer. But a journal for me is the organic way to go. But you do that. And then how about thinking about all those people in your life who inspire you, the people who have made a difference in your life, have influenced your life, the people that, you feel that you have been changed by exposure to those people. You may have found the people in a book, on a movie, or on the television, or in person. How about journaling about those people? Well, better still, how about writing them a card or sending them a note? How about texting them or some way telling them, letting them know, thank you, you've made a difference in my life. You're making a difference in my life. I appreciate that. I want you to know. I bless you and I thank you for that. We could do that and support each other in that way. And encourage the good in everybody. Stop pointing out the faults in everybody. Encourage rather the good. Make up your mind you will be an encourager of good rather than a finder of faults. And I can assure you your character will shine through if we're focused on that. Written on one of my dozens and dozens of journals is something that says, you are the possibility of creating beautiful things. Now, each and every one of us is the possibility of creating beautiful things. How are we going to go about creating beautiful things? Do we want to go about creating beautiful things? Will we absolutely be open to being the beauty and grace of God, the character of God on this plane, or not? If we're going to take ourselves seriously as truth students, this is what we're all engaged in. We're all engaged in the process of releasing the hidden splendor that is already who and what we are, and we do not have to grow it. We do not have to add to it. There's nothing more we can bring to it or receive from anything out there to make it more enriched and enhanced. We're loaded already. We're complete already. We're full already. We are the amazing grace of Spirit on this plane right here and right now. And thank God we're getting to realize and understand that we are not our human inertia. We are not our egoic resistance to life and living. And that's the only thing that's going to get in the way of you and me not being the fullness of grace that we are. Human inertia and egoic resistance, because we are so reluctant to get up off our derrieres, be it mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional derriere, and move, action, movement. No more sitting around. Up and at it. Movement. So stop telling yourself you're tired and you're weary and you're this and you're that and the other, because whatever you're telling yourself, you're going to experience. So let's tell ourselves that we are, as my mother would always say, young and able. You who are young and able, get up off your backsides, whatever backside you have to get up off of, and be all that you can be, and be it now, because you are the truth and you're making the difference, and so it is.